We haven't even completed a full month of the second term of Trump's presidency, and my God, I don't even think it's hyperbolic to say he has accomplished more in these couple of weeks than Biden did in his entire 4 years. It's really insane the amount of stuff that he's been able to accomplish, getting Mexico and Canada to get on side to secure their borders, which are totally reasonable. So anybody going out on a limb, okay, even right now as it sits and saying, oh, Trump's tariffs are causing all the price increases, if you're in my neck of the woods up here in Canada, or if you're down south in Mexico, oh, the tariffs are just causing a big problem. I mean, there's a 30-day pause, at least on the Canada side of things, and I'm pretty sure it's on the same thing with Mexico, because, yeah, he wanted to get people to the table. Big shock. Once he did, yeah, guess what? All of the talk of the tariff war, yeah, immediately evaporated. So anybody trying to spin that narrative, yeah, they're just trying to price gouge you a little bit, which is kind of what I'm seeing out here at a bunch of the stores, but they're going to take any opportunity to do that. And, well, there's been a bunch of great stuff going on, and for as much as I think that it's funny to see all of those lesser male athletes cross the line and head on over to the female spaces, it's so funny. It's so funny how the feminists and how all of the white knight blue-pilled simps over there, your tradcon saying, oh, we need to respect women's spaces. It's so funny how they want to go ahead and they want to protect their sex-segregated spaces, but when it comes to guys' spaces, I mean, oh, if a woman can compete and a woman can hang, I mean, what's the problem with allowing them in? It's so nice how we can have it enshrined that men are not allowed to compete in women's sports, but whenever guys just want to have their own space, you're being a bigot or a sexist if you're not allowing women in. But I can joke and, we can have a little bit of fun at the expense of, the women getting exactly what they deserve. Hell, you wanted all of this stuff and you only started to raise a fuss when it immediately started to become a problem for you. But yeah, no, okay, signing that stuff into law, generally speaking, is probably good, to prevent any, future deaths to happen, at least in the combat side of things. But while there's been a bunch of stuff to tout and a bunch of stuff that has been an overall win, which we're going to get into one of them, closing down USAID. USAID is a fantastic thing, and we're starting to see what exactly was getting funded. It's by no means going to be an exhaustive list because there were so many crazy things going on, but the one thing that, oh boy, really got me tight when I seen it, okay, it involved a certain Middle Eastern warmonger come over and Trump pull out and push in the chair and roll out the red carpet for him. Holy man. Let's just go ahead, okay, get out of the cult of MAGA for a second, and as somebody who has, who has expressed their appreciation for the man time and time again, even I can take a step back and realize, hey, if any other president was going to openly tout their plans to nation build in the Middle East, you would have called them out for the warmongers that they absolutely are. But because this is Trump and he's wanting to make MAGA land, he can hand it over to our greatest ally, you're going to go ahead and turn a blind eye to that? That is absolutely ridiculous. And if he follows through with that, oh boy, you just brace for the excoriation, okay? Let's do more of this stuff where you make sure that millions, billions of dollars of American taxpayer money doesn't get superfluously spent on condoms for Gaza, which is another like $55 million I think Biden sent over there for that. But it's interesting how there's birth control and population control for certain centers of the world. Meanwhile, you'd have other ones exporting their degeneracy. But that's another topic for another time. Let's talk about Politico, the New York Times, Washington Post, and several other outlets getting millions of dollars from the United States government to push all of the narratives that you thought that they were getting paid to push, okay? Like, yesterday's tinfoil hat wearers are today's truth sayers. I mean, what is a conspiracy theory at this point, except for an accurate assessment of the future? I mean, for far too long, okay, just reading mainstream slop in regards to entertainment, whenever video games would come up, you would reliably be hit with the old GamerGate, even though that shit was going on in 2014, for Christ's sakes. Like, they just would not let it go. And there's probably a reason behind that, because whenever they put that into an article, we ended up getting a stipend from the government. Because take a look at this. Politico took $8 million in USAID's taxpayer money while attacking GamerGate and pushing anti-gamer narrative. The Trump administration just cut them off, yes, and so many other things. But let's take a look. Turns out that Politico, the left-leaning news outlet, no, they're just unbiased, okay, that has a long smeared GamerGate in the gaming community, was receiving millions in taxpayer dollars. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt announced Wednesday. Yeah, and she's somebody else who's been going out on a tear. It's been kind of fantastic to check in with some of this stuff. It's just, there's been so much news going on recently. Some of the politics stuff is maybe a little bit slacking, but then at the same time, you know, like, as somebody who, if you go back to the early origins of my channel, uncovered all of the ins and outs of all this crap, and hell, you guys didn't watch it, so I had to stop covering it. Maybe because this shit is just so funny. I'll come back at a later date. But announced Wednesday that the outlet will no longer receive federal funding after revelations that it took more than $8 million through USAID and other government contracts. This funding bombshell was highlighted by ex-user Twitter guy, okay, who pointed out that Politico has published multiple articles related to GamerGate, consistently framing it as disinformation and harassment. Now, I've long assessed that the term disinformation and misinformation, that's just a way to skirt and go the long way around instead of just blatantly calling somebody a liar. Like, it's a coward's way, and probably a way to skirt any sort of litigation or repercussion, so you can get away by slandering somebody's character without any type of repercussions attached to them. So yeah, whenever you see that stuff, it's just, they're peddling disinformation. You're trying to say they're a liar. You don't have anything to go on. It's just another one of these vibes or feels-based assessments. But while pushing narratives about diversity in gaming, a search of GamerGate on Politico returns 22 different articles. Now, for a Politico that probably produces 22 articles before lunchtime, it doesn't really seem all that significant, but I think we have adequate correlation here. The revelation raises serious questions about whether taxpayer money was used to promote a political agenda within gaming journalism. But yeah, no, there's other things, obviously, that Politico was getting paid by the U.S. government to push. This just happens to intersect with gaming. People have wondered if our tax dollars were used to promote wokeness in video games, and the answer is yes. USAID paid Politico millions per year to write pieces like this one, which promotes diversity and describes GamerGate as a disinformation and harassment campaign. Yeah, exactly. During Wednesday's Press LCS briefing, Leavitt confirmed directly to one of the Politico reporters' face, perfect, taxpayer funding is being terminated immediately. I was aware of funding from USAID to media outlets, including Politico, and I know that, who I know has a seat in this room, Leavitt said. The $8 million you receive ends today. The DOGE team is canceling those payments now. Oof, absolutely brutal. But yes, for years, Politico has aligned itself with activist gaming journalists who push woke narratives under the guise of combating toxicity. Their extensive coverage of GamerGate framed gamers as reactionary extremists rather than addressing the legitimate concerns about the media corruption that sparked the controversy in the first place. Yeah, exactly, because if you were around at the time, obviously I wasn't making videos, but I was very, very aware of the goings-on. It's like, yeah, Zoe Quinn, Five Guys, somebody who has two different types of body counts, one of the traditional horror variety and the other of a Hillary Clinton styling. Sleeping for review scores for your shitty games ended up getting spun into, oh my god, I'm getting harassed, and Brianna Wu, oh my god, there's people hiding into bushes. I'm sure, right? Oh, we're getting threats. Oh, it's all this misogyny that's going on. Who gives a shit, bro? You're all just liars. And it ended up ruining the Western game industry. Okay, long story short, man, people just wanted to play games. And now put a pin in that for a second, because you take a look at, okay, the mainstream media governments received these types of subsidies. The AP got $619,000. I would have thought it would have been a little bit higher than that, okay, as they are more or less the well that the rest of the mainstream media draws out of, because everything is just essentially a reprint of the AP. So yeah, them only getting $620,000, let's just round up. Okay, we'll give you the extra $32 and just make it square on that one. But Reuters getting $3.1 million? Holy, New York Times getting only a paltry $378,000. That's kind of crazy. But obviously, Politico taking home $8 million. That's a big one, but we can see where the rest of the money is going. They're getting paid directly to properly frame and light photo ops in Ukraine. Fantastic. Ben Stiller was paid $4 million to take photos with Zelensky. Sean Penn was paid $5 million to go down and do the exact same thing, take his Oscar with him. Oh man, like, Jesus Christ. It's kind of crazy, right? Like, Orlando Bloom, I don't think he's anybody's favorite actor, but he's probably been in some of your favorite movies, if we're going to be completely honest, okay? You got Legolas going down there to Kiev. It's so nice that he can be reunited with one of Gimli's kin. But he was also in Pirates. It's like, yeah, he's, depending on how you kind of have to categorize them. In my top 5 favorite movies, he's either in 2 or 5 of the, or 4 of them rather. But the fact that, you know, he's on the take to go down there to simp for one of the most successful grifters of the 21st century, oh, man, that's kind of sad. But yeah, Angelina Jolie, who is just a top tier miserable, anyways, was paid $20 million by USAID to take photos of kids that she would like to adopt, but they're the wrong color to grift off of. But that's not the only thing, right? Okay, because while we looked at the different mainstream slop media outlets, okay, but at least, okay, that's on the American side of things, okay? That's a homegrown talent that you could argue, thereby getting government stipends makes them, you know, propaganda of the highest accord. But why exactly? Why is the BBC, okay, the British Broadcasting Corporation, why are they getting USAID money? That doesn't make any sense. Now, free press is essentially to freedom and democracy, and 75% of the countries around the world do not have a free press. Yours is bought and paid for, bro. Okay, BBC Media Action supports a local media around the world to deliver trusted information to people most in need. Like other international development organizations, BBC Media Action has been affected by a temporary pause in U.S. government funding, which amounts for about 8% of our income in 2023 and 2024. I beg your pardon? Like the rest of it's paid for by the British public via, you know, taxpayer money and TV licenses, but why is 8% of their funding coming from the United States? That's absolutely crazy. But the rotten fact does run deep. Like Trump points out on Truth, okay, all in all caps, because of course it's Trump on social media. Looks like billions of dollars have been stolen at USAID and other agencies, much of it going to fake news media as a payoff for creating good stories about Democrats. The left-wing rag known as Politico seems to have received $8 million. Did the New York Times receive money? Who else did? This could be the biggest scandal of them all, perhaps the biggest in history. The Democrats and, well, I guess we could show more if we're so inclined, or we could just go to the Post itself. Why not? Who cares? The Democrats can't hide from this one. Too big, too dirty. Too big, too dirty. We just can't do it, folks. And here's the thing, covering this political stuff, like, you got to stay on top of it in order to get everything that's in there. And obviously, I'm going to miss a couple of things, but something, okay, because we're focused on the entertainment side of things. We're focused on the GamerGate. We're focused on the anti-gamer narrative, and the one who kicked it all off. And the fact of the matter is, Feminist Frequency back in 2023 got about $250,000. I mean, are you really surprised? This was a bitch, okay? Anita Sarkeesian, who grifted, what was it, $60,000 to open up a Discord server. Yeah, it was very funny too, because wasn't it around that time after she got that check where she shut down everything because the funding ran out? Very interesting. I'm so glad she got all of that. I'm so glad that she got all of that funding, because maybe that ended up paying for her wedding-themed birthday. Oh my god. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.